Hi, welcome back to Obsessed by Everything Bravo, where we are obsessed by everything Bravo. My name's Meredith, and I am your host on this journey through the Real Housewives and coming soon, other non housewife shows. Can you believe it? We're finally at non housewife shows that are more than just a few episodes or seasons, and not a spinoff. And spinoffs we will cover at one point, probably behind a paywall. So, if you'd like to support the podcast, there will be a link in the bio of Buy Me a Coffee. On the podcast, probably not on YouTube because honestly, I have now, I think, 4 subscribers. Thank you. But I haven't really paid a lot of attention to YouTube due to the flu. And the flu got me really behind. So, I'm just doing my best over here. But today we are talking about The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 2, Episode 16, entitled Uninvited. Ooh. I've never been uninvited from anything. Have you? Let me know in the comments. Please don't. Okay, so, well, we're just going to get right into it because this one is a doozy and it involves everyone. This one is wild. Today we're going to be talking about Kyle's white party. This is what we're getting uninvited from, but who could it be? I'll never tell. Actually, that's exactly what I'm going to tell you. But let's start. Let's open it up. Sorry, I'm putting on my chopstick. So I don't know if I've told you guys, but I'm on an Accutane journey. Winter was a bad time for this. Winter and the flu, bad time for this. Because everything is so dry. It's incredible. My like internally, externally, everything is so dry. My hair, I don't even have to wash it anymore. And this is I've had oil. I'm very oily. So it's just weird, like just having like such a dry scalp. I mean that my hair is clean. If you're watching this on YouTube, my hair's clean, but it's just weird. It's a weird feeling. But my lips, just sitting here talking, makes them so dry. All right, that's enough about me. Let's open up. And so this is Uninvited. All right, so we open up a Paul having problems with the printer. These two. like like you're literally a surgeon. he's just having problems with the printer. Adrian comes in, and what I think is like me getting ready to ignore everything that happens because they're going to be fighting. No, that's not actually what happened. This is like a lock yourself in. She comes in and she's like, "Guess what?" He's like, "What?" She's like, "I just got off the phone with Camille. She sounded frantic, and let me tell you why. Remember what I said happened at the tea party between Camille and Taylor? Side note, Adrian was not here for any of that. Remember, Paul had come over. Taylor was talking to him through the fence, and then he told Taylor to tell Adrian to call him. Adrian left the room, so she didn't witness any of this. Okay, and now I'm sure she heard, and she was there for the aftermath, and then she was there for the Malibu party, right? But she actually wasn't at the tea party. So just to be clear, so she's like, remember what I told you happened at that tea party? Russell didn't like that. And I guess he sent an email. This is Russell's MO because he's been sending emails to Lisa, right? Didn't send one to her this time. I wonder why. Because her and Taylor are now BFFs. Send one. So he sent one to Camille threatening to sue Camille. And Paul's like, because she repeated something that Taylor said? That's ridiculous. And Adrian's like, Camille's upset. And Paul's like, yeah, don't blame her. So then Adrian tells us that Russell commented that Camille made false and slanderous remarks that could damage his business. Absolutely not. She was repeating something that Taylor told her. Camille was shocked that a friend could actually be potentially suing her. So all of this is Russell's MO. And this is why that dinner with Mauricio and Kyle, where it was Taylor and Russell, One, why it was so weird, because it was just like very orchestrated for them to be like, and did you see this magazine article? Well, if she doesn't like that, then I'm going to sue her. And then, like, days later, Lisa's getting emails from Russell, right? This is his MO, like, to a T. And Lisa just didn't respond to it because, I mean, I don't know. She didn't understand what was going on. One thing that I will say, too, is she did question Taylor about it, and Taylor probably told that to Russell, and then just nothing came out of it, right? But he sent her at least 2 emails, because he sent her one the day of the tea party as well. That was after that luncheon that Taylor did not invite Lisa to. Remember that. Okay, so Camille, so Adrian says, Taylor has told us all about the situation with Russell. So then Paul says, well, that puts stress on all of us as a group. And Adrian's like, that's right, all of us. Camille is very upset, and now she doesn't want to go to the white party. Oh my God. So Adrian tells us, I thought that we would all be receiving threatening letters to sue, and I didn't feel like that was right. She says, I don't even know if I want to go to the white party. I feel odd. It's an odd sensation. Situation. I can't read my own. I typed this. We've only repeated what Taylor has told us about the situation. And Paul says, if anything, since Russell initiated the email, rather than all of us feel uncomfortable, I don't think he should go. This is awkward. First of all, Taylor should not have put you guys in this situation. Yes, Paul has. You know what? I'm changing my mind about Paul. I don't know if it's this episode or the next episode, because we will be ending this one on a cliffhanger. Sorry, guys. But I was like, wait a minute. But Paul. But he's got this right. Taylor should not have told everybody and then expected them to keep quiet about this on their television show. That give me a break. That's not something that you just openly share. So he's like, first of all, Taylor should not have put you guys in this situation, and Russell shouldn't have ... Adrian cuts him off, because this is Adrian we're talking about here, and she's always stopping people from putting their foot in their mouth. And she just goes, it's draining. Having to think through all of this, and we've all been told the same things by Taylor about their relationship. And then Paul goes, aren't we all supposed to go to Hawaii? Adrian's like, yeah, the whole group is going. And Paul's like, that's going to be the same issue. Paul tells us we're supposed to go to Hawaii for Maurice's birthday, but if we're all dealing with lawsuits, I don't think Russell should go. And he says, why didn't Russell just pick up the phone if he had a problem with her? We're all supposed to be friends. And Adrian says, what really sucks about this is friends don't threaten to sue friends. Yeah, she's right. Now we get a scene of Lisa and family listening to a band for the wedding. Okay, cool. And guess what? These are the people that we choose, so we'll see them later. Now we have a scene where Kyle is setting up for the white party. There's hijinks, pre-party hijinks, where we don't know if they're going to be able to get it together in time. Glenn is there. Glenn is my favorite. And I just love Glenn. He's always so sweaty. He's running around. I love that at that charity event, and Kyle was so stressed, and he just handed her a margarita. Like they just know each other, or he knows her so well, that he's like, I know exactly what you need. Alcohol. It's like they're, and also Kyle's like, we just moved in like a month ago, 6 weeks ago or 2 months ago, whatever it is. And she's like, I'm insane for having a party after just moving in. And it's like, yeah, well, you should have thought about that. Now Kyle is getting her hair done, and she talks to her hair girl about Ken. Now this is Kim's Ken. So this is going to be confusing, but basically neither one of these two men is going to interact that often. So it's either going to be in the context of Kim or the context of Lisa Vanderpump or the rest of the women. But Ken really doesn't interact with anybody else unless Kim's Ken doesn't interact with anybody else unless he's with Kim. So I'm not going to like, it's not like a Joe Gorga, Joe Giudice situation. If I talk about Ken referring to Kyle and Kim, just understand that that is Kim's Ken. And if I talk about Ken with Lisa, that's just Lisa's Ken, otherwise known as Ken Todd. I wonder how Ken Todd's doing. One interesting fact, speaking of Todd, currently there are 3 Real Housewives that are getting divorced from a man named Todd. My husband's name is Todd. So it's a little weird. Okay. All right. So Kyle's talking to her hair girl about Kim's Ken, and how he's coming to the party tonight and she doesn't really know him. She tells us that she doesn't do well hiding her feelings. So she's nervous about him coming tonight. And then her hair's all done and it's set in the little pins. And so Adrienne calls Kyle to tell her about Camille. And she tells her that she got a letter from Russell threatening to sue her for things that were said about Russell. And then Kyle goes, how can you sue someone for repeating something? And Adrienne is like threatening to sue her. And I don't know how he can do it because Camille was only repeating things that Taylor had told her. She feels strange going to your house tonight. And to be honest with you, I don't want to go. I don't want to get a letter because Taylor's told me things as well, and you and all the other girls. And honestly, I just had to tell you this because, I know it's going to be a fabulous party, but Camille doesn't want to go. And I feel strange going for myself. And of course, Kyle is like getting devastated and disappointed. And she's like, but I want you guys to be here. And Adrienne says, look, I don't want to put you in this situation, but we feel strange being around Taylor if she's going. And like, who's next? And I just want you to know why. If we decide we're not going to go, it's because it's just too strange. So then Kyle is like, okay, let me see if I can get a hold of Taylor. So she's calling Taylor. She's not getting a hold of Taylor. Now we go to a scene of Kim, and she's eating dinner with 2 of her daughters, Whitney and Kimberly. Brooke is her oldest daughter, so these are her 2 younger daughters. And then they're just chatting for a little bit, and then Whitney notices that her mom is wearing what looks like an engagement ring. Now, remember, Ken is also wearing a wedding band, and he told Kyle that it was a promise ring. And so Kim says it's just a promise ring. And Whitney goes, well, to who? Oh, they hate this man. And Kim says it concerns me that my girls aren't happy and comfortable with Ken. It's a huge adjustment, and they've always had me to themselves, and I think they're just scared. Scared? Why are they scared? So then Kim says, Chad's birthday and the white party are coming up, and I would just like to have a happy time. And they both are like, I don't know what you're talking about. Of course we're going to have a happy time. And she says, I'm talking about Ken. And all I'm saying is that if you guys could just put whatever you have against him aside and just be nice and friendly. And Kimberly is like, well, we won't start anything, but we can't control what happens with other people. Yeah, like, I don't know. This just makes me laugh. But please don't ever forget that these people are also cousins with Paris Hilton. So whatever, like spice you think that Paris Hilton has, all these people grow up with the same thing. So it just, this is making me laugh. Then Kim tells us this is the first time I'm introducing everyone to Ken. And then there's also the Hawaii trip coming up. So I'm just kind of anxious to see how the white party goes. And she tells them, which I'm like, this is hilarious. Like, we're going to put a pin in what she's getting ready to say because this can apply to literally everything Kim does in the rest of the episode. She just says, just remember, if you feel certain things about someone, you don't have to share it in front of everybody. Just keep it to yourself or share it to God. Kim. Okay. Okay, we're at the white party now. Again, love I love that we have a few scenes and then we're jumping into the event. You know it's going to be a big one, and I feel like that's happened like 5 times already this season. Okay, so guests are starting to arrive. It's nighttime. Also, they do valet parking, and I just am always wondering, like, where do the valets take their car? Because this is just like in the middle of like a regular neighborhood. Now it's like nice, you know what I mean? But still, it's like, where are they parking the cars? Is there like a Target parking lot like down the street or something? I don't know. Questions I'll never know the answer to. Um, except for one of the new housewives, which she's not going to last long, I can already tell. Um, apparently bought this house from Kyle. So and then remodeled it and just totally fucking destroyed it. So I don't know if I can even watch, honestly. Okay, so anyway, I don't know why I get off on these crazy tangents. Brandy comes. She brings that girl Jennifer. Kyle tells us, I invited Brandy to my white party before the night in Malibu. It's probably going to be uncomfortable, but I'm not going to uninvite people. Wait a minute. Isn't that what the title of the episode is, babe? All right, so now Camille and Dee Dee show up. Camille did come. Okay. Camille says, I don't want to discuss the email that Russell sent me. This is just something that we need to resolve privately amongst ourselves. I would feel uncomfortable seeing Taylor at this point. So she comments on, the house, which they've been to before because they all went to the seance, but they're just kind of chit-chatting, and Kyle goes, hopefully those chandeliers don't fall on anyone tonight. And Camille goes, maybe unless you wanted to. So now Lisa and Ken show up, and Kyle is like, come here, you have to come and help me figure this out. So they go and they speak privately, and basically Kyle tells Lisa the situation about the emails. So Lisa's like, well, what does Adrian say? And Kyle's like, Adrian doesn't want to be around either one of them because of the lawsuit. And Lisa's like, well, me too then. We're all in the same position. And Kyle's like, me too. And so Lisa's like, well, what are we going to do? And Kyle's like, I've not said anything. The only one that has ever said anything, even Camille was like, well, she was only saying what was told by Taylor, and it's not like she threw something out there she invented. She said what Taylor told her. She didn't accuse him. She repeated. Lisa says, I feel bad. Why is Lisa feeling bad? Why is suddenly Lisa feeling bad? And Kyle's like, well, how do you feel about having them in my home? I don't want to say you can't come in. What am I supposed to do? Have a lawsuit too then? And Lisa's like, you've got to give them a heads up. It's going to be so embarrassing if they show up here. Kyle's like, I've been trying to call her. I've been calling. And Lisa's like, well, let's try again. So Lisa's going to try to call Taylor again. No one's been able to get a hold of Taylor this whole time. Kyle says, I have not been able to reach Taylor, so the only thing I can do is just wait for her to show up to my house and tell her she's not invited. Ooh. All right, we go to commercial break, we come back. Adrian and Paul show up. Kyle is still talking to Lisa, and now they're all talking. So all 4 of them, at some point, Mo shows up. Todd, he is not really a part of this. So, Lisa, they're asking Adrian if she's worried about a lawsuit. And she's like, are we all supposed to be worried about a lawsuit? Like, I don't understand this whole thing. We were just told something by Taylor. Lisa said, he's not got no reason to sue me. He's got no reason to sue anybody. I just feel bad because she made the effort to go to Pandora's bachelorette party. And Kyle's like, Lisa, that's unimportant right now. And Lisa's like, it's important to me because I just spent the whole weekend with her on her birthday and I haven't even seen her, spoken to her since. And Kyle's like, well, how do you feel? How do you think I feel right now? I'm closer to her than you ever have been. Which is like, now I like how they're arguing about who's closer to Taylor. Lisa says, the last thing I knew was that Taylor was on a business trip with Russell. So I've tried calling and texting her to save her from the embarrassment of being turned away from the party. Can't get a hold of her. Lisa said she's going to be really upset. She won't trust either of us ever again. And she's like, let's go ask Adrian what to do. And, well, I don't know. Yeah, I thought Adrian was there. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so now all 3 couples are together. Okay. And Mauricio says, look, if you're going to be threatening lawsuits, we don't feel comfortable with that. Kyle's like, this is a really bad situation to be put in. So Kyle is just starting to get really upset about it, like starting to get tearful, and she's just basically like, I don't want to kick anyone out of my home. Like, I'm kind of in the middle of this. But then she's also of the mindset of like, also I don't want to be sued because she told me this stuff too, and we're all like in the same position here. So Adrian says, look, she put us all in this situation. And then Lisa says, did you have a clue of anything? Have you spoken to Taylor? Adrian's like, no. And Lisa says, apparently it was sent while we were in Vegas. I don't think that Taylor would know anything. And Kyle's like, that's her husband. You don't think he's going to tell her? No, I actually don't think he would tell her because they don't have the type of relationship that she has with her husband. And Lisa says, maybe he doesn't tell her a lot. And Mauricio says, how would you not know? And I'm like, because they don't fucking like each other. They're fighting and he's kicking the shit out of her. So Lisa goes, hold on a second. He was sending emails to me that she didn't know about. The thing about the emails to Lisa is Lisa brings this up at least 3 times and it always just gets like pushed under the rug. And Lisa's just like, what about my emails? Like he was doing the same thing to me and nobody cares. And now Kim arrives with Ken. And Kim says, I usually come to these events alone. So I was so excited to walk in with Ken. Why? He's so homely. Blech. He makes me want to throw up. And then Kyle says, I will be as nice to Ken as I possibly can. Will I be bending over backwards to Ken? No. Then Lisa is kind of chatting to them and she's like asking about her new man. And she's like, her boyfriend seems pleasant. Dana is there. She's there apparently. And she's telling Ken how good Kim is and that she needs love. And then Camille, so everybody's there. They're all talking to Ken. Camille says, first impression is that they seem happy genuinely. And it's honestly the first time I've ever seen Kim happy. And then Dana was showing a picture from the Vegas trip of her and Brandy. And Dana's like, oh, we made up in Vegas. And don't worry, you guys are going to make up. She's a nut job, but she's really fun. And Kim was like, bleh. Kim is so mad. So then Kyle pulls Kim aside and she tells her, please don't start anything. They're in like kind of a corner. And on the other side of the room is Brandy and Jennifer. And they're like, I don't know if they're doing this on purpose or this is how it really happened, but they're just showing the two groups like eyeing each other back and forth, right? But Kyle says, don't start anything because I can't take anything more tonight. And Kim says, well, Brandy needs to steer clear of me if she doesn't want another broken leg because I'll break the other one. And she says, I don't mean to ruin your party, but I'll take her outside just like Taylor threatened to take me outside last year because I'm not going to put up with it anymore. And then Kyle's like, can you just deal with it nicely? And Kim asks, well, what did Brandy do to me that was nicely? She's such a petty bitch. Literally every single other person has like moved on from this. And I get it. She said you were doing crystal meth in the bathroom. Like, I get that would be upsetting. You also were being a total bitch and hid her crutch. Like, I think maybe we should just call it even at this point. But no, she can't because she is a bitch. She's a petty bitch. So Kim says that I heard Brandy and Kyle made peace. I'm happy for you. And then Kim goes, if she glances my way one more time, I'm walking over to her and she's about to get her hair yanked out of her head. And then we hear Brandy just kind of say, I don't want to fight. And Kim's then the camera pans over and they're talking to each other. So Brandy's standing there and she's like, I don't want to fight. And then Kim is like, I don't like you. So this is where, remember I told you about how to deal with a narcissist was to gray rock. Brandy does a perfect gray rock here for a little bit. Like you can only do it for so long, but she's experienced with narcissism or narcissist, I guess. So Kim goes, I don't like you. And Brandy goes, okay. And Kim goes, and I will never like you. And so Brandy tells us, You know, Kim and I ended up in the same room and it was just on. So Brandy says, "You don't like me. You're never going to like me." I said, "I'm sorry. You guys were out of line. I was out of line." Kim says, "Wait, we were not out of line until you were out of line. Don't apologize. It's not worth it. I don't accept your apology." And then Brandy's like, "You don't have to." And Kim says, "I won't." It's so juvenile. And this is where I think this is like the perfect example of showing how Kim is stunted in her maturity. Like, she's not a mature grown woman. Some kind of trauma happened to her in her teenage years, and we know this, right? Like, I don't know what happened, but something happened to her where she never matured past teenage years, because she sounds like a petulant child. Very similar to Danielle Staub, where it's just like everything is just handled in the most immature, weirdest way possible. So Brandy's like, "You don't have to accept my apology," and she's like, "I won't." What I'm talking. I can't even get through it. It just makes me laugh. She says, "What I'm telling you is, this is the way it went down for me." And here's the other thing is, the gray rocking is working, because now Kim is, where before she was like, "If she talks to me, I'm going to pull her hair out." Now she's trying to explain herself, because Brandy has no reaction to her. She's like, "Whatever, give her, take it, love it or leave it. I don't care." And so now Kim is having to be like, "No, well, let me tell you more." So she says, "What I'm telling you is the way it went down for me." Kyle says, "Let's play Genius IQ." And she starts clockwise and points to you. And you said, "Bring it on, bitch." And I said, "That's not very nice." Okay. That's not what happened at all. I go over extensively in my game night episode. So if you want another play-by-play, but that's not how it happened. And Brandy just goes, "Well, we all have our bitchy moments, to be clear, all of us." And Kim says, "Okay, but my sister is genuinely not a bitch. We all have our moments, but she is not a bitch." And Brandy says, "She was, but she's apologized to me for it. So it's okay." She admits that she was being a bitch. And Kim says, "Maybe she just did that to make you feel better. She was not, and you were. And I feel bad you brought me to that level. And what I need to do is get on my knees and apologize, only to God, that you..." Hold on, I'm reading this wrong. I'm trying to do it too dramatically. So she says, "I feel bad that you brought me to that level. And what I need to do is get on my knees and apologize to God that I let you bring me to that level." And she's pointing in Brandy's face like this. So Brandy's like, "Watch the finger." And she's like, "No, I'm not going to watch the finger." And she's like waving her hands and fingers in Brandy's face. This is where Brandy like kind of loses it a little bit, but she got her. This interaction is so interesting and just perfectly demonstrates so many points that we've been talking about over the podcast. Just the way to handle it, the way that Kim is so immature. They go to commercial break and we come back. And Brandy goes, "I'm going to remove myself from the situation because you're getting violent for no reason. I wanted to speak with you and have a conversation with you, and now you're attacking me." Kim goes, "After everything you did? After all those things?" And Brandy goes, "Are you kidding me?" And then now Kim is like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?" Trying to mock her. Like, it is so immature. It's really hard to watch, actually. Brandy says, "I'm not sure what Kim's issues are, but I expect that there is some kind of substance abuse." And Kim goes, "You're just not right." And then Brandy says, "Okay." Again. And then she's like, "I felt sorry for her and I was going to let her go off on me if she wanted to." Gray rocking, right? So Brandy said, "You know what? I tried. I'm not going to try again." And Kim's like, "Don't try again. It's shameful that a pretty girl like you has a truck driver mouth." So, and this is the thing. It's like this cycle. Like, Brandy has at several times tried to exit, and Kim just keeps trying to pull her in because she's needing this interaction for some reason. And Brandy's like, "I do. I have a truck driver mouth. You're correct. But I'm a good person. And, I'm a great friend." And Kim goes, "Well, why don't you give yourself a hug?" But what? I don't know what that means. So Brandy says, I don't kid myself about who I am and what I do. I say the F word. Who cares? And Kim goes, it doesn't make you pretty when you say those words. And then Brandy says, well, it doesn't make you pretty when you act like, pointing at her up and down this. Then there's like a bunch more back and forth. And at this point, Kyle comes up and she's like, can you guys stop fighting? Then, so they've separated. Kim is talking to her daughter, her under 18 teenage daughter, Kimberly. And she's like, yeah. And my daughter has something to say to you too. And Brandy's like, absolutely not. I'm not having this conversation with a child. I'm not bringing a child into this. And Brandy tells Kyle and Lisa, she's like, I just wanted to say sorry. And it just went, I don't know. Kyle apologizes to her for Kim's actions. Like, this is so messed up. I don't know. There's a lot going on. I think it's interesting that Kim was very much like, it doesn't make you pretty to talk like that. Okay, it doesn't make you pretty to act like a 12-year-old. Also, so like there's something there about Kim, about Brandy being pretty. Like, I don't know if Kim's jealous that Brandy is prettier than her, because Kim is a beautiful woman, but Kim was also a child star. And the problem is when a child star, God willing, grows up and they don't have the same appeal as an adult as they did as a child. And hearing those words come out of my mouth, I'm not meaning that in like a sexual way. That was like, I need to, now I understand that could probably be taken in 1,000 different ways. And like I'm saying, she's been through some shit. But what I'm saying is you just lose beauty with age. And Brandy's not young here. She's close to 40 at this point. So she's not like the youngest person in the room. Taylor is also 40. Kyle's also 40. She's like 38 or 39. So they're not like young. And me being like also in my 40s, it's like, yeah, once you're 40, you lose a lot of that. But Kim has also had a rough life and she's done alcohol and drugs and things like that. It makes you look bad. We all know this. And so I think there's just something about youth and beauty there that Kim's jealous of. And she's not emotionally intelligent and she's not emotionally mature. So she can't like voice that even to herself, because even like any normal person, and you grieve the beauty you had in your youth. And yeah, I can say that I'm jealous of some younger, prettier person, even just like girl next door pretty, but I'm not going to go up to them and scream at them, because I can understand, I can grasp that in my brain, that thought is going through my head, and maybe like, I don't hold it against somebody, because the other thing I can realize is one day these people are going to be my age, God willing, again. And they're going to experience the same thing, no matter what they look like on the outside, right? So it doesn't really bother me, because everybody gets to that point. And I don't know, this whole exchange was like so strange. And also, don't forget, we're all going to Hawaii next episode. So, I don't know. Also, Kim's Ken, he was standing there the whole time. Like, he's like a bulldog, like, just, I don't know, weird. Because for me, if it was my wife or my girlfriend that was standing there looking like a fucking idiot, I would have pulled her away. But he just, like, let her have it out with Brandy. And Brandy was handling it so maturely, like okay, that's not true, like just very just emotionless and just standing there taking it. Very strange. Okay, so now we're cooking with gas. We see Taylor and Russell get into the back of the limo dressed in white. They're getting ready to go to the white party. Taylor not once checked her phone. Taylor said they're both excited. They both seem very happy. And they're like, tonight's going to be fun. And she's like really excited. And Russell's like, I'm going to party all night. I want to have fun tonight. And remember at the white party last year where he was like a total stick in the mud, left her. She's up stairs crying to Kyle and then just immediately leaves. Remember, she's like standing on the curb holding a cake. Yeah. So this year he's like, we're going to have fun. Also, The nerve, the audacity of this man to be like, yeah, I just threatened Camille with a lawsuit, but let's go get drunk with all of our friends. So now we go back to Kyle. So we're going to be doing one of those things where we're like back and forth. Kyle, they're standing at the door. She's freaking out. Adrian is trying to coach her. She's like, okay, so here's what you need to say. Again, Adrian, micromanaging. And she's trying to tell everyone, she's like, well, and you go out and you say this. Paul's like, look, we don't need to have a discussion. Just tell them they aren't invited. And Lisa's like, there's a possibility that Taylor doesn't know. He was sending me those emails that she didn't know about. Oh, I forgot to say about the email before that when she brought it up the first time, it was with the 6 couples. I don't know where Ken was, but then right after that was like Saved by the Bell because Kim showed up. But when Lisa mentioned the emails the first time, Mauricio gives Kyle a look like, oh. Like, yes, she knew about it. And then they just like weren't saying anything about it. And then, okay, so she brings it up again. She's like, he was sending me those emails she didn't know about. And Mauricio says, you can't just send emails like that and not know. And everyone else thinks she knows. Lisa keeps saying like, oh, she doesn't know. Mauricio says, if she doesn't, then they need to sort that out between them because I suffer the consequences of my wife and she suffers the consequences of things that I do. And Lisa says, well, they have a different relationship. And Mauricio goes, for sure. And Adrian's just like, Lisa, she knows. So then we go back to the limo and Russell's like, well, we barely made it out of Vegas. Taylor says, you know what? There's only a handful of people that I'd leave Vegas for just to come home and to go to a party. And I wouldn't do it for anybody else besides Kyle. It's like, womp, womp. So back over to Kyle. She's tearing up. And Paul is like, you know, he's like, why do you feel like you're the one that needs to deal with this situation? Really, honestly, Mauricio should just go out there, right? And just be like, hey, you're starting to sue one of our friends. You're not welcome here. But Paul is like, why do you feel like you have to deal with this? And she says, well, she feels bad. Now we go back and Taylor says she's really excited to see Kyle, but she's apprehensive about Camille. She tells us, I told Russell what had happened at the tea party in a therapy session, and he wasn't happy. And he was upset that other people knew what was going on in our marriage while we were trying to work things out. So I was really nervous about Russell seeing Taylor. Or Russell seeing Camille, sorry. And then Taylor says, look, I don't want to fight with Camille. I just have to forgive her. Back to Kyle's house. Paul says, after reading that email, I can tell you that the two of them, and then he shakes his head, immediately went and told what happened at the tea party. That's her MO. All this hearsay shit, it's ridiculous. It's constant pressure. Kyle's like, I don't know what to believe. Which is like, okay, again, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they don't believe that. It's not that they don't believe that Taylor's getting abused. It's that they don't want to accuse someone of abuse. Adrian says, none of us know what to believe, but the problem is this is serious. You don't do this to friends. You don't draw people in, get everybody confused, work yourself out of it, and then let them fend for themselves. And that is the crux of it because Taylor's trying to manipulate this situation. And at this point, she's washed her hands of it. She's clear. She's not sending emails threatening people. Her husband is. She doesn't know about it, right? So it's just, I don't know. Yeah, the situation is weird. The situation that Taylor has put everyone in is weird. So we go back to Russell and Taylor, and honestly, they seem genuinely happy in the car. They're kind of flirting with each other, which we've not seen once. They've never been touchy-feely. They kind of are. So now the car pulls up, and Kyle is freaking out. They start getting out of the car, and they're walking up the driveway. And Kyle's, just the walkway, it's kind of weird. It's like all broken up where there's like a straight line and then there'll be like a horizontal line and then another like vertical line and then another horizontal line. But there's like grass in between. It's just very strange. But so they're walking up this and then the whole crew starts coming out, and Kyle's crying, but you can see from Taylor's face that she's like so excited. She's like, "Oh my God, a welcome party for me." Kyle tells us that the idea of having to go out and tell my friend that she cannot come into my party feels terrible. So Kyle, Mauricio, um, Adrian, Lisa, and Paul all work out together. And so when they see them, they're like so happy. And then Kyle is already crying and she's like, we have a problem. And she's like, basically, I cannot understand her because she's like practically in hysterics at this point. And she's like, no, I guess, I don't know if you know, but that email you sent Camille, now her lawyers, they're saying that she can't be around you guys. And I feel really bad. And Adrian is like, listen, it is what it is. And Taylor is like really confused. And then Russell is just sitting there like stone faced as he always, this man has no emotion. He's probably a psychopath. And he, I can say these things because he's passed away. He just is not reacting to any of it. So Paul interjects, and this is where I was like, oh, Paul. Okay. So, everybody's kind of talking, and Paul is just like, look, that email you sent out, that was inappropriate. And Russell goes, I was very kind to her. I said, please call me. Paul says, I read the email. It was not kind. He's like, Paul is not putting up with this shit anymore because he knows that everybody is involved now. And Adrian goes, we all read the email. Taylor said, I haven't read it. And Adrian the problem is right now, Camille's inside. And after a letter like this, what's she going to do? She calls her attorney. Mauricio says, so now it's further than just Camille. Taylor tells us, Russell told me he sent an email to Camille asking her not to discuss the personal details of our relationship. I had no idea that he had threatened a lawsuit, which I don't know. Either way, I don't know. Some of these things I just don't know. Kyle says, it's like a whole problem and now we're all involved. Like Kyle's hysterical. And Adrian is like, what she's trying to say is it's not a good idea. Camille is here and Camille's very upset. It's not the right time for all of you to be together. So then they're all talking at the same time. Taylor's like, I never read the email. So then Lisa starts like defending her and she's like, I got it right, defending Taylor. And she's like, that's what I said because you sent me emails. I don't know why this tickles me so much, but she keeps bringing up her own email situation and like nobody gives a shit, but she keeps bringing it up. And so then Adrian is like, can you explain to Taylor what happened? And Russell says, well, I heard a rumor. Your wife just said that she told you this in therapy. Whatever. I heard a rumor and simply an email was sent saying, if you said this comment, it's false. And why would you say something like that? And Mauricio goes, it's further than Camille. It's a situation that nobody here wants to get sued or have litigation. So Russell goes, well, what do you recommend? Then they go to commercial break. We come back from a commercial break. And Paul's like, you guys should go. And Taylor goes, well, you guys enjoy your party. We're going to go. We'll fly right back to Vegas where we left to come here. Love to see you guys. See you later. And they're getting back into their limo. Kyle is running after her. She's crying. She's like, I feel bad. I'm sorry. And so now Russell and Taylor are in the car and Kyle's kind of like halfway sitting on like, you know how the limo has like a seat going up the side. She's like halfway in, halfway out sitting on the seat. Russell's like, we have no issues with you. And Kyle's like, I know, but it's my house. Adrian is like hanging out the door talking and she's like, can I tell you what happened? And Taylor goes, if Camille was so upset, she wouldn't have come here. She could have contacted me. And Adrian goes, well, she's afraid. Taylor's like, of me? I didn't send her a letter. And Paul said, the attorneys didn't want her having any contact with you. Kyle says, she made the comment that it wasn't her who invented it. It was stuff that Taylor told us. Now, here's where we're in some danger here because Taylor's told Russell a story, whatever she needed to tell him to make him okay with it. And now all these people are going to be contradicting this. So Taylor's starting to realize that she's in some serious shit right now. She said, no, 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 no. She repeated an exaggerated version of what I told her. I should not have told her. He knows exactly what we're talking about. Russell said, well, she got very carried away if she truly said what I was told she said. And these people just, they don't have any clue about how bad it is, which is why we know, like, this, they don't know. This is why I can give them some grace, because they truly do not know what they were doing here, or they would not be doing this. Adrian said, no, Camille did not get carried away. She was just upset. All she was doing was repeating. So then Russell's like, let's just go. Can we just go? Or no, he says, just let us go. It's like, it's so dramatic. Sorry. And then Kyle goes running inside. Like, she's wearing this flowy dress. She's crying. Her hair is blowing behind her in a breeze. Kyle said, I've never felt so bad and had to do something like that to a friend ever. Then Lisa's talking to her Ken, who's not been around for like this whole thing. Lisa's like, it's a mess. It's a bloody mess. And Ken's like, late to the party as ever. He said, so he's threatening to sue her? And Lisa goes, yeah. Oh, sorry. I keep adjusting this. She's like, yeah, you're next. I'm next. And then Russell, you just see him in the car and he's pissed on the drive home. And he's like, well, let's go back to Vegas. And Taylor's just kind of sitting there like stunned. And then they go back to their own house and you just see them going inside and shutting the door. And I was almost like, do we need to leave production here? Like, that's how much I think Taylor was really gonna get it that night. Like, she was really, really in danger. Again, Taylor is fine now. She was on some episodes of the OC a couple years ago. She's living her best life in the OC right now. But this night was probably really bad for her. Because I think Russell figured out that she was telling them exactly what was going on with their marriage. And it's heartbreaking when you think about it. The whole season is heartbreaking when you think about it, when you truly think about it, because this woman has been in this desperate cry for help ever since the first episode, ever since the Colorado trip. She's just really been just losing it. And again, she should not have been on a television show doing this. I understand why she was on a television show. I get it. Because it was giving her money and she felt like being on TV, it was safe for her, like that he would not harm her. That's obviously not what happened. She's had several black eyes that we've seen so far. And those are only the injuries that we see, because you can hit somebody in a lot of places and it never shows up, even on camera. I understand why she was doing it. Like, I get her reasoning. I truly do. But she was putting herself as in mental health in a terrible position, and she was putting all the other women in a terrible position, because this was what was going to happen inevitably. Even if they kept it under wraps for a year or two, it was still going to go down this way. And I will say that Taylor has said that Camille saved her life by doing this, because it's what prompted her to finally get out of the marriage, which we'll find out about that next episode. They're going to start, the marriage is over effectively at this point. But we'll talk about that when we get there. But Taylor's okay now. That's kind of like the good thing about watching these back. And I just want to say the other thing is, I don't think as viewers, we really understood what was going on either. Like, I really did not understand the severity of this situation. I do now. Now, I don't know if that was because we didn't understand domestic violence in the way that we do now. I don't know if it was just because, like, I had a small child at this point, and I would be watching, while I would watch while he would like nap and I was doing other stuff, I'm not sitting down to watch the shows. They're just like on, right? And so I just wasn't clocking it, or if like we weren't clocking it. Like I don't know. I just don't ever remember thinking about it as seriously as I am right now. Even knowing that it was happening. Like at this point we all knew, right? But yeah, that's it. Some heavy stuff. Heavy subject matter. I should probably have put a trigger warning. Sorry. I mean, I guess hopefully you're watching along and you see it. You know what I'm getting ready to talk about, or you've seen it before and you already know. If not, then I'm sorry. If that triggered you, I'm sorry. Heavy stuff on this episode. Heavy stuff that we're all going through. Again, how we defeat the fascists. Truly. We cannot defeat them with laws. They don't follow laws. We can't defeat them with weapons. They have better ones. The only thing we can do is take care of each other and resist. Not out here, in here, but we have to do it together. We cannot do it alone. Be a part of your community. Online communities are cool too, okay? If that's all you can do, But your neighborhood, your worship center, your school, whatever you're into, get locked in. Be friends with those people. There's more of us than there are of them. Okay? We can get through this. We can get through this together. We will get through it. In one way or the other, this will not last forever. But always remember to keep joy and keep hope, okay? That's how we get through it. Together in a joyful way. Keep laughter in your heart, love in your heart. Don't grow hard-hearted. Don't grow hateful. Don't get overwhelmed. That's what they want. That's what they're banking on. They're banking on making us so upset that we don't care anymore, that we hate the same way they do. We can't that's how they'll win. When we hate the way that they do, we have to keep loving. We have to keep joy. So if this podcast brings you joy, then I'm doing my part. Okay? And I care about all my listeners. I've got listeners all over the world now. Antarctica is the only place that I don't have listeners. I'm not sure if they get radio waves. But, if you've got a cousin studying, icicles in Antarctica, send them my podcast so I can get a download down there. But thank you guys so much for listening. As always, give me a rating, a review, follow. You can always donate into my Buy Me a Coffee link. And if you'd like to send me a message, let me know how I'm doing. There's a link in the show notes as well. Again, thank you so much. This week is hard and days ahead are going to be difficult, but we'll get through this together. Okay. Have a good one. And we're going to be finishing this up in a couple of weeks. We'll talk to you later. Bye.